Jane Fonda.
Yeah, of course.
So she's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2025 SAG Awards.
Nice.
Right. And just picture it. All those flashing lights, everyone's in like designer gowns, the excitement's building.
The energy's high.
Exactly. And then, bam! A total technical glitch right as Fonda's taken the stage.
Oh, no way. Talk about a live TV nightmare.
Right. It could have been a disaster, but the article really highlights how she just rolls with it. Totally unfazed.
That's Jane Fonda for you. Always composed.
And get this, the announcer's voice starts playing like right over her speech.
Oh, wow. So what did she do?
She totally owns it.
Yeah.
Just cracks a joke, says, I can conjure up voices.
Haha. That's amazing.
Like she's saying, hey, this isn't stopping me. I got this.
She's a total pro. That's such a great anecdote about her. I can totally see her doing that.
And you know what? That little moment actually sets the tone for her whole speech. You can tell she's got something to say, and she's not letting anything get in her way.
And what does she go on to talk about?
Well, one of the big things is empathy.
Empathy, huh? Interesting.
She actually calls it a superpower.
Whoa, a superpower.
Yeah, especially for actors. She even says something about them touching souls.
Now that's a powerful image.
Right. I was trying to remember her exact words. It was something like, what we actors create is empathy. And then something about understanding another human being so deeply that we can actually touch their souls.
Okay, so she's taking acting beyond entertainment.
Yeah.
It's like she's saying it's a way to connect with people on a deeper level.
Exactly. Stepping into someone else's shoes, letting the audience see the world through their eyes.
Like a bridge between souls.
And then she tackles this whole woke debate.
Oh, that's a hot topic. I'm curious how she handles that.
You and me both. You know how some people might hear that word and just tune out?
Definitely. It can be really polarizing.
Well, Fonda goes right for it. She doesn't avoid it at all.
Interesting. So what does she say?
She actually challenges all the negative stuff around the word. You know, how it's become this insult.
Yeah.
The article quotes her saying, empathy is not weak or woke. And then she goes on to say, by the way, woke just means you give a damn about other people.
Wow, she really just puts it out there.
I know. I love that she didn't shy away from it. Like, she's making us confront what we really mean when we use that word.
Reframing the entire conversation, really forcing people to think.
Exactly. It's like she's saying, let's cut through the noise and get to the heart of it. Are we really against caring about other people?
Such a powerful statement. And you know what? It's super relevant to all of us listening, too.
For sure. Makes us think about how we react to these labels.
What does wokeness really mean to me? Am I too quick to judge or dismiss things?
It's a real gut check moment.
Big time.
So we've got empathy as this driving force, but then the article shifts a little. It starts talking about Fonda's career and how unique her path has been.
That's what makes these deep dives so cool, right?
Exactly.
It's not just about like one event or one soundbite. It's about understanding the whole person.
Totally. And Fonda's career, I mean, it spans like 6 decades.
6 decades. That's incredible.
And it's been anything but predictable. I mean, in her own words, she even calls it a really weird career. Totally unstrategic.
I love that. Weird and unstrategic. So Fonda.
I know. But think about it. She retired, came back, and then made a huge hit movie in her 80s.
There's something so inspiring about that.
Definitely. It's like a testament to her resilience and passion.
Absolutely. She just keeps going.
And, you know, she doesn't take herself too seriously either. There's this part in the article where she's joking about doing her own stunts in an action movie when she's in her 90s.
Oh, I gotta read that.
It's hilarious. She says, and probably in my 90s, I'll be doing my own stunts in an action movie.
Oh, that's classic. I love that she keeps her sense of humor.
Right. That and her ability to adapt, I think that's part of her secret sauce.
Yeah, she's constantly evolving, taking on new challenges, not letting age or expectations define her.
That's a great point. It makes you think about, you know, what are we capable of if we just keep pushing forward, keep trying new things?
Exactly. Fonda's a great example of that never give up spirit.
For sure.
It's inspiring.
Yeah.
It really is, though, isn't it? It makes you think, you know, like, what could I do if I really put my mind to it?
Totally.
But, you know, Fonda's story, it's not all about Hollywood and award shows.
Oh, yeah, for sure. The article talks about her activism, too, right?
Exactly. And she connects it back to her acting, which I think is fascinating.
Yeah, she talks about growing up in a time when, you know, women weren't really supposed to speak their minds.
Right, like be seen and not heard.
Yeah. And she actually says that acting gave her a voice.
Interesting. How so?
Well, she talks about, like, the 40s and 50s, and she says something like, women weren't supposed to have opinions and get angry. Acting gave me a chance to play angry women with opinions.
Oh, wow. So she was able to kind of explore those emotions through her roles.
Exactly. It's like acting was this safe space for her to, challenge those expectations.
That makes a lot of sense. And then she takes that experience and channels it into real-life activism.
Right. And it wasn't just a passing phase for her either. It was a lifelong commitment.
Yeah, the article mentions her work on civil rights, gender equality, the environment. I mean, she's been fighting for these causes for decades.
And she was willing to put herself on the line for them too, even when it could have hurt her career.
That takes a lot of courage, especially in Hollywood. Think about what was happening during the McCarthy era.
Yep.
People were getting blacklisted for their beliefs.
Exactly. And Fonda even references that in her speech. Like, she saw firsthand how risky it was to speak out.
So she knew the stakes, but she still chose to use her platform to advocate for what she believed in.
Yeah. And then she asked the audience this really thought-provoking question.
Oh, what was it?
She says, have any of you ever watched a documentary of one of the great social movements? And ask yourself, would you have been brave enough?
Wow, that's powerful. It really makes you examine yourself, doesn't it?
For sure. Would we have had the courage to stand up for what's right, even when it was dangerous?
And what's so interesting is that she ties this right into our present moment.
Yeah, this is where she drops that killer line. You ready for this?
Hit me with it.
We don't have to wonder anymore because we were in our documentary moments. This is it, and it's not a rehearsal.
Chills. Literal chills. She's so right, though.
Right. We're living through history as we speak. Every choice we make, every action we take, it's all part of this unfolding story.
It's a lot of pressure, but it's also empowering in a way.
I think so too. Because she's not just dumping this responsibility on us and walking away. She's urging us to be brave, to stay connected to our communities, to help those who are struggling.
And to project an inspiring vision of the future.
Yeah, I love that part.
Yeah.
It's not about despair. It's about hope and action.
Totally. It's about acknowledging the challenges, but choosing to fight for something better.
That's a message we can all get behind, no matter what our beliefs are.
I think so too. It's about recognizing that urgency of the moment and choosing to act, even if it's in small ways.
Exactly, because those small actions, they can add up to something much bigger.
And speaking of those ripples, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on. It's about Fonda's activism on environmental issues.
Oh yeah, that's a big one for her. She's been a vocal advocate for the environment for a long time.
And he brings it up in this speech too. She talks about the challenges we face as a planet, but she also emphasizes the beauty and resilience of nature.
That's interesting. So it's not just about doom and gloom.
No, it's about recognizing what we stand to lose, but also remembering what we're fighting to protect.
And how do we do that? How do we actually make a difference? Well, she stresses the importance of empathy, not just for each other, but for the planet itself. It's about understanding that we're all connected, that our actions have consequences for the entire web of life.
That's a really profound idea, isn't it? It shifts our perspective from seeing ourselves as separate from nature to recognizing that we're part of it.
Exactly. And it's about extending our circle of compassion to include all living things.
So it's not just about recycling or driving a fuel-efficient car. It's about a fundamental shift in how we view our relationship with the natural world.
Exactly. And, that's where Fonda's activism goes beyond traditional social justice issues. She sees environmentalism as intrinsically linked to human rights and social justice. It's all part of creating a more just, equitable, and sustainable world for everyone.
Wow, I love that action. It really broadens the scope of what we consider to be activism. It really does, though, doesn't it? It makes you rethink everything.
Yeah, it does. And that's why I wanted to bring up one more piece of this speech. It's something that really stood out to me about how Fonda ties this whole idea of action back to Hollywood itself.
Oh, right. She talks about that dark period during the McCarthy era.
Exactly. When speaking out, about your political beliefs could actually get you blacklisted.
It's hard to imagine that happening today, isn't it?
I know, right? But Fonda lived through it. She saw how fear and silence could take over.
And it would have been easy for her to just gloss over that part of history, right? I mean, this is her big moment. She's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award.
I know. But instead, she uses this platform to remind everyone about those who came before her, those who risked everything to speak their truth.
It's like she's saying, look, even in a system like Hollywood, which can be all about appearances and fitting in, there's always room for courage, for resistance.
And she doesn't just leave it in the past either. She connects it directly to what's happening right now.
Oh, right. She talks about those documentary moments we're living through.
Exactly. She challenges us to ask ourselves, Am I being brave? Am I speaking up for what I believe in? Am I supporting those who are being marginalized?
Those are some heavy questions. They really make you think about your own actions, don't they?
They do. It's so easy to get caught up in our own little bubbles and forget that we're part of something so much bigger.
But Fonda's message reminds us that we have this responsibility, to engage with the world around us.
And to act. Even if it feels scary, even if we don't know what the outcome will be.
And those actions, they don't have to be huge, right?
Exactly. It's about those everyday choices we make, how we treat each other, how we use our voices, how we show up in our communities.
And maybe it's also about learning a thing or two from Fonda herself. I mean, she's faced setbacks, she's made mistakes.
She's even talked openly about her regrets.
Exactly. But she keeps going. She keeps learning. She keeps evolving.
And I think that's what makes her such a powerful role model, She's not afraid to be vulnerable, to show her imperfections.
It's like she's saying, hey, it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to mess up. What matters is that we keep trying, keep learning, keep pushing ourselves to be better.
I love that. And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
Wow, time really flies when you're having a deep conversation about Jane Fonda.
It does. But before we go, I want to leave everyone with a question to ponder. Like Fonda said, we are in our documentary moments. So what are yours? What are those small or big things you can do, starting today, to make the world a little bit better?
It's a great question to think about. And you know what? I think Jane Fonda would be proud to know that her words sparked this kind of reflection, this desire to make a difference.
Me too. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.